All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. And we want to welcome you to PRNs Through the Eyes of Others. Every Wednesday evening, myself and my sidekick, my partner, Lisa K, come on and we have conversations about the emotional residue that many people are experiencing as a result of watching real life being lived right in front of us. Okay. And I think that, and I say this every week, but I mean it every week. We have a really good discussion tonight, and two people who are sharing lived experience um, dealing with COVID-19 and the lived experiences like right now. And these are right now situations and right now diagnosis and right now recovery. And so I just wanted to thank our guests, Christine and Noah, for coming on and with a willingness to be able to share and to be able to help us think through and talk through where we are collectively right now in society with the pandemic and COVID-19. As usual, my sidekick, Lisa K, a partner, co-director. Lisa, what's happening with you tonight? Come on board and say hello to everybody.
Well, hello, Noah and Christine. Thank you so much for coming on. Chris, it's so good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, just hate it's kind of under these circumstances, but having you on tonight and knowing you a little bit and spending some time with you, I'm most excited to hear from you about your experiences and just wish you speedy health. And you look great. You look really, really good. So you're taking very good care of yourself. So thank you for coming on and being courageous to share tonight. And Noah, so glad to meet you. I've seen you before on different things with PRN, but I'm glad to hear from you tonight. I'll get to know you a little bit and what you do for us. To dive in and kind of open up your life to us tonight and let us see a little bit through your eyes and what you've experienced. Tonight is a subject that, we've been talking about for a long time. And we have our ebbs and flows of how we're dealing with COVID-19. Some days it feels like we're lost. And then some days it feels like we're making strides, and it's a roller coaster. So we're excited to have two folks that we care about, we respect and love so much to come on and tell us what experiences they've had, and so we can learn and also love you through it. And but tonight is about the traumas and the vicarious traumas that all of us are experiencing through COVID. Whether you, most of us, I think most people in the world can say they know somebody who has came up positive, who has gone through COVID-19. I know I can. I know Aaron can for sure. So tonight for our community is really, really important for us to see you in person and hear from somebody that we know, and to kind of prepare us. But trauma is through this thing has been rough, and we don't know how to deal with COVID sometimes. But I think we'll learn tonight that trauma is trauma, and some of us are going to deal with it differently based on our lived experiences from the past, and it's going to be real interesting to hear how each of you has handled going through your individualized situations with COVID, and how it has affected you and how it has affected your family. But those of us who haven't received that news of having a positive COVID, we are still traumatized. We had that vicarious trauma by watching the news, by caring and loving for loved ones or people that we know who have loved ones. It's every day, every night, all the time, and it has been for knocking on a year now, right?
Yep.
So I know the folks who are tuning in right now, who watch later, will be able to connect with that part of it. There are times I get off of the television in the morning and I'm in tears, or I feel like, what are we going to do? And then there's times that I'm encouraged, but it is the ebb and flow of that. So I know we all can relate tonight, and I do appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We ask that you guys share this. COVID has touched all of our lives in a very, very deep way. So please share this tonight. And even if you watch this later, share it. We need to get the word out. And I know our two guests, along with Aaron leading our way tonight, are going to really shed some light. And at the end of this, we want some hope. We want to figure out how we can stay hopeful and connected and understand how to take care of ourselves during this time. So welcome everybody. And you guys keep chiming in, and we'll answer your questions. Our guests are here to answer your questions, or if you just want to encourage, that's fine too. But thank you for coming on tonight, everybody. And we're looking forward to another good conversation tonight.
Thank you so much, Lisa K. As always, appreciate it. And I know again that both of you have some real right now situations going on. So, to take your time to come and share, we are so thankful. And we want to make sure that we're honoring your time. Chris, come on and introduce yourself. Give us a brief bio, and then we'll do the same thing with Noah, and then we'll have some conversation.
Well, my name is Christine Harper, and I thank you for inviting me on tonight and allowing me to be your guest. I have several things that I participate in that has pretty much come to a stop the way that I used to do it since I've been COVID positive. In fact, excuse me, Lisa and Aaron have been guests on my talk show before, talking about vicarious trauma. And this is traumatic. So I work in an ICU unit, and I'm also a minister with several broadcasts and shows that I do that I can't do right now. But I'm just glad to be on here tonight. And in fact, Lisa K., this is the first broadcast I've done since being positive. And I hesitated to do it because in the past I've been able to have the stamina and the air flow to do it and feel very comfortable that I wouldn't go off the deep end coughing or couldn't breathe. But I said, since we're going to be breaking up the conversations, that I think I can get through this. But thank you for allowing me to be a part tonight.
Thank you, Chris. And you take your time, right? You chill as you need to, and we really appreciate it. Brother Noah, come on board and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what's going on right now.
So my name's Noah. First of all, thank you guys for having me, and appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully I can share something that's helpful to someone else. I am not very good at the whole bio thing, so but I've been doing peer support for about 6, 7 years now, and luckily, I am privileged enough to get to work with PRN on the warm line, in addition to doing some advocacy stuff within the MCO for my daytime job. And me and my family have had quite a bit of experience with COVID, and so I guess that's why I'm here tonight.
We appreciate you, Noah. We appreciate the time, and both of you, when you have an opportunity, you owe me a new pair of pants, because I've been on my knees praying for the two of you and your situations, and so you guys owe me pants when you get better. So let's dig in and have some COVID conversations. Noah, I want to start with you. So the question would be the same for both. What was going on? How was life flowing prior to diagnosis, and what was it that began making you look for or seeking out medical attention? How did this thing happen?
So I think we were diagnosed the week of Labor Day. And so just I guess background is, so I'm married, me and my wife, and we have 5 children together, and then I have my oldest son too. And luckily, my oldest son wasn't here, but we have our 5 children, and 2 of those are special needs. So we really, I mean, when I say we follow those precautions, we were we were really following those precautions. Because one of my middle daughter is medically fragile, and she actually has respite workers that come in and help us out, and they were following the precautions. But everything was going. I mean, as far as quarantine and trying to deal with life and working from home, and I mean, we call our house the zoo. And as far as trying to, ebb and flow with a million kids and going on at any given time, and working from home, probably hear background noise right now of little children running and screaming. Sorry about that.
Apologies needed, brother.
We were doing. I mean, I felt like we were doing pretty good. And so actually the way it all started was, I think it was Labor Day. I like to do like ultra marathons, and I was at my peak week for training, ran 18 miles, felt fantastic, was doing great. Didn't feel too hot Tuesday, didn't feel too hot Wednesday. My son was feeling a little funky too. And so my wife took my son to get tested, and I was like, fine, okay, I'll go and get tested. And one of our daughter's respite workers, she said she wasn't feeling that hot. But we went and got tested Wednesday, had our results back Thursday. Me and my son had both tested positive, and by Friday, I could hardly walk across the yard without feeling winded.
Chris, similar thing, similar situation?
Very similar. I tested on a Monday before Christmas with a group of coworkers. We all tested, and I tested negative. I think I took the test on a Monday. On Tuesday, I got the results, but I started feeling not so great, like Noah, just really, not feeling but just not feeling myself. Never got the fever at first, but I started feeling pretty kind of yucky. So I said, let me go ahead and get tested again. And 2 days later, I tested again. And the next day, my result came back, and I was positive. And that was on the Christmas Eve. I remember it was Christmas Eve, and I was like, wow, what a gift for Christmas. But anyway, I tested positive, and I started doing the things that I needed to do. And like Noah, I had been, very, very, very conscious of following the precautions, working on an ICU unit. I feel very privileged to work with those frontline workers, and knowing the things that you need to do to stay safe, the precautions, the mask, the hand washing, just things that you don't typically, think about. I had gloves whenever I put gas in my car, went to the grocery store. I mean, all of those things. And I did it too, because I too, like Noah, and I didn't know that, I have a son that lives with me who has some special needs as well. And so, I said, I can't bring this home to my son. I had been working from home pretty much all summer. I went to campus maybe 1 day or a week or 2 days a week, and did the things that I needed to do. But the bulk of my work was done from home. So once I tested positive, I went into isolation from my son, which was a challenge since we don't live in a castle. So we had to make sure that we were truly like ships passing in the night, and stayed safe, stayed away from him. And it was by, Christmas Eve, when I got the message, I was like, okay. By Christmas Day, oh my goodness, fatigue, the brutal headaches, and the breathing. The breathing became a real issue really quickly.
So with this, and I'm gonna flow over to you, Noah. So you have comparative situations as far as how this began, how you found out. What did quarantine begin to look like for you, Noah? Because you have all those children there. You and your wife have to get better so you can take care of them and not transmit it. What does quarantine look like for you?
So a lot of what they said, as far, most of our children are young, fairly young actually. So my the kids we had in the house were 9, 9, 5, 4, 3, 3, and 3 at the time. And literally every single one of them contracted it, had symptoms. And actually my 4-year-old, who doesn't even have asthma or anything, we ended up having to do virtual visits with the doctor and go for parking lot visits with the pediatrician twice a day because her fever went so high and wouldn't break. My daughter, who's medically fragile, she actually was the one that probably handled it and roughed it the best out of everybody. I mean, we obviously went into isolation. Neither one of us could leave. We were very fortunate to have a very good support system that helped us out with like our needs and stuff. But shortly into that isolation, my wife, me and her were feeling, we felt horrible, but we were able to keep going, and everything was going okay. But her heart rate spiked to, she said she didn't feel right. It felt like a thud in her chest, and she put on the monitor, and I looked at the monitor and I was like, there's no way that's right. Just calm down. Like, there's probably, that, because I think the heart rate monitor said like 230 or something like that. And then she ended up having to go to the hospital and stay in the hospital for, a brief time because her heart just was under so much stress from COVID. So then we were trying to deal with that. And yeah, quarantine was a truck.
Chris, with you quarantining, you said like you don't live in a castle, so you had to make sure that both you and your son were okay. Maddie J, shout out to Maddie J. So, Chris, how did you shape that? How did you shape it in a way that you've been able to create a healing environment in the house? How have you shaped that?
Lots and lots of cleaning. Just lots of cleaning, lots of spraying. We share a smaller home together, and we have the one bathroom. So whenever I had to go to the bathroom, and with the whole vomiting and all that other stuff. Sorry for those of you that might gross you out, but and feeling horrible, I still had to just clean. Whenever I felt a break in feeling like I wasn't going to just pass out from the fatigue or breathing issues, I would clean. I would have to clean after every time I went to the bathroom, which was a challenge because there was a period of time during the treatment. Well, let me back up. When I finally, after I tested positive, my back, that was my biggest challenge for a while. My back would not stop hurting. It hurt. And I would, excuse me, I would take something for it. It would ease off a little bit, and then it would just start hurting back again. And so I was telling one of my friends at work, who's a nurse, and she said, you might want to go check that out. And I was like, but it kept hurting. So I went to the emergency room, and they did the x-ray and ended up actually having the COVID pneumonia. And that's where the breathing and the pain was coming from. So at that point, because my breathing was so messed up, as well as my heart rate, I'm with you on that, Noah, with your wife. My heart rate was elevated, and because I didn't have anybody really to stay with my son, I said, well, what can we do from home? And they hit me with, a couple of really heavy duty antibiotics and some steroids and some breathing exercises. And, the doctor, he was like, you sure you want to do this? Like, yeah, I have to do it this way. And they tried to get blood. I don't know if your wife experienced this, Noah. They stuck me like 6 times trying to get blood, but my blood was so thick, it would not come out of them. It would not come out of the my vein. My vein would blow just like that. And they finally got one in, and the nurse said, "We're not going to pull blood from it. We already know you're sick. We're not going to pull blood from it because we might need to use it for IV." So, I was dehydrated by the time I got there, and I just thank God for my friend at work who was pretty insistent that I go to the emergency room and do the X-ray, because when you work around frontliners like the ICU staff, they're like hardcore. They like, we got this. So you pick up that mentality. We're gonna do this, and but I credit her. I tell her all the time, if it weren't for the grace of God and for her insistence, I firmly believe that I would not be sitting here tonight sharing. With the medications and stuff, I brought them home. I had to get on a regimen. I was up in the middle of the night walking. I was doing the breathing exercises. I couldn't sleep well, but when I did sleep, I'd set my alarm. I'd get up. I'd stay mobile as best I could. I'd reach around behind me and tap myself on the back just to keep the lungs, vibrating. I just everything I could think of that I had learned from the professionals that I worked with. I did that, and I stayed far away from my son. And so, he understood, and was interesting his response, because his grandfather was at the time battling through COVID, and he had just lost his grandmother. So his response when I told him that I was positive was, okay. And you got to know my son, Aaron, Maddie J. His response, I could tell he was concerned, and particularly when we didn't, we couldn't eat together, although I wasn't in the eating mood, so I made sure that, whenever I was around him, I masked up just like I would if I was going to the grocery store. My daughter came in, she brought us food, and, she made sure that we were okay. And I whisked her out of the house as quickly as possible. And, people were nice. They brought food and stuff and left it on the porch, and lots and lots of prayer. But the quarantine has been brutal for me. I'm a people person, although I'm starting to enjoy it more and more. I hear about people contracting, because I've been tested twice. I've come up positive twice. When I was told the second time that I was positive, I literally cried like a baby. I had videoed every night. I would video as best I could while I was going through that process. So I have those videos, and I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with them, but it was just really, really, really a rough time. And I couldn't show that to my son. So I would, whenever I was around him, I would like, okay, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine. I remember trying to open up my humidifier and couldn't get it open. And I remember crying. I'm like, no one told me being emotional was part of this, but I remember not having the strength even to open up my humidifier. And I remember crying and praying and like, Lord, what's going on? And at one point during that whole process, I really did think that I was going to die. And so I started, doing some things, pulling all my paperwork together and sharing with my daughter. And, she doesn't like to hear that kind of stuff. So she was kind of, I don't want to hear that, Mom. But it was just that bad. And, but we got through that part. And now with the after the post-COVID stuff, maybe I'm jumping ahead. Let me stop so Noah can share.
Yeah, we'll come back to the post. But you're as you reveal what you went through, it's really compelling. Takes me to this part with Noah, before we bring Lisa Kay on. I had an experience in April, I believe. Went to the grocery store, and I just went to an anxiety attack. People weren't masked, not social distance, and I literally didn't go out the house for at least 45 days. I mean, like, I went to my driveway and that was it. Supports helped me through that. I haven't contracted COVID. Just the fear of it has at times put me in a mental prison. Noah, what emotions, what thoughts, fear when you first heard, courage, what feelings did you process when you first got diagnosis?
I mean, definitely, obviously fear. Because I mean, I've said it before, but I'll be brutally honest. Like, there was a part of me, just being completely transparent and honest, that was like, okay, yeah, it's there, it's bad, but is it really all this? Is it really what they say it is? Is it getting hyped up? Is it, but also at the same time in the back, like if I was not a husband with kids, I probably wouldn't have been near as cautious as I was. And I really would keep myself in check with, you don't want to bring this home to them. You don't want to, so I think once we finally, number one, the entire experience has definitely proved to me that I was wrong on that front all the way around. And that it, so it was definitely humbling, but definitely fear, especially because of what our doctors had told us about my daughter, was that, they practically told us to put her in a bubble and keep her there, to put everyone in a bubble and stay, anyone that had regular contact with her, and stay in a bubble. So I was definitely scared for her, and for my entire family. And, I guess that unknown, but at the same time of like, kind of like Chris was saying of, with the kids, like my oldest daughter has autism. So her, hearing the news and seeing the news, and all of a sudden now we have it. And so she was having issues trying to process that, and how to process her own emotions. And, then she's worried about me and her mom and her, siblings. So, definitely fear. And I guess I thought relief, once we were finally on the other side of it. But again, not to jump ahead, honestly, for us, the post-COVID has probably been, I would honestly take quarantine and COVID 3 or 4 times over than the post that we've had to deal with.
Thank you both. I want to bring it over to Lisa Kay. Lisa Kay, if you would jump in and tell us what you're hearing from various trauma eye of yours, but also go ahead and greet our people who are chiming in. There's some buzz out there, Lisa Kay. Let me turn it over to you.
Yeah. Wow. Just sitting here listening, to folks live and in person, is really touching my heart. And no, I was like you. I've had those moments of, it can't be like this. This is just hype. They're just trying to, there goes the news again, right? And then, slowly but surely others, folks that I knew who knew somebody, and it just started progressing. And I think, unfortunately for you, it really hit close to home. I haven't had that experience yet. But I definitely don't sit in that seat anymore where I think that it's not possible, and that is a lot of hype. Because we're sitting down with two very beautiful people tonight who so those who are watching who still aren't sure, uh, just trust. We got two beautiful people sitting in front of us who have gone through hell and back, and fought through it, and have really experienced some stuff. And no, I go back to one of the things you said, and I thought it was precious. I really liked it because I used to have lots and lots of kids in my house when I was younger, a lot younger, 5 and 6 kids at a time, because I was a foster parent as well as a mom of my own. And you called your house the zoo. So I appreciate you putting it out there like that. Those of you who are watching that have children, and Chris, I know you probably understand that too. And
Yes.
Aaron, yeah, we get that. And just to hear your children in the background, please don't ever apologize for that. We are thankful more than ever that we hear your children in the background, and they are playing, and they've got air to, fuss at each other or whatever they're doing, or they're having a great time. So you don't worry about that. You relax in that. This is life. Life showed up. And because we're hearing life right now at your house, that is sweet music. So don't ever apologize for that. I'm just glad we heard it. So, you also said, Noah, that you ran marathons, which I find anybody that can run a mile, I'm just like, you're my hero. I only run for my life. And then I think twice about it at that. But you said you were, running like, I think you said 18 miles. Well, that's a pretty serious runner. You are serious about that thing. So that struck me too, because of our passions that we all have, whether we were into running, or Miss Chris was talking about all the things that she's involved with, her broadcast, and not being able to get on and speak and have conversations with her community. All of those are passion. Running has to be a passion. So we'll get to that, but I just wanted to bring light that so much of what you experience has taken away. We're isolated, and that was hard, but just sitting back and thinking about someone who was an avid runner who could run 18 miles, not being able to, go out and do those things to that extent. Really, that's another level. Not being able to have the breath, as Miss Chris talked about, to minister the way she was. That's a passion. That's on a whole different, that's a level, right? And we've been in COVID for a little bit, so we've kind of gotten a little settled in how we're doing business now. And that, Miss Chris, all of a sudden, you can't even do business in the COVID way we were doing it. And so there's another level. There's more trauma. There's that, it just keeps going. It's a gift that keeps on giving, right? And I know y'all are going to get to the post-COVID stuff, which I think might be some new learning for some of us to hear about that. So I'm real eager to hear more about that. Both of you have described, it weaved in and out your family. And Chris, you talked about your children, your son's response to you, the look on his face of just his past experience, just recent past experience with losing a family member, right? And then having his grandfather have COVID. So all those fears around that. And then, having a daughter, and I know your daughter, and she is very courageous and brilliant and go-getter. And I can imagine what she was going through, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. She's a strong girl, and not being able to come in and take care of her mother had to be tough for her. And then knowing her yourself, knowing what she was going through. So it's one of those things where the vicarious trauma just keeps going in so many different levels. Chris, you talked a little bit about the isolation, being one of those things. And that is a theme we're hearing, even folks who haven't tested positive for COVID. We've all experienced that, right? But having COVID, just that isolation, the trauma with having it and having to isolate differently now
Yes.
from everybody. You talked about making some videos, getting your affairs online, just the thoughts of all of that coming, right? So it's a lot of stuff going on there. And I don't know how long a span that, well, you said in December, it's, so that was a good span there of you having to deal with that. So I wanted to just kind of throw those thoughts out there to you guys, as well as the folks listening, just how leveled this trauma is going with COVID. Even listening to you guys tonight, those of us who are experiencing stuff, we've got some folks on our chat line right now who are talking about their loved ones, their daughter. Miss Roberta states that her daughter has had residual illness due to COVID and has been quarantined 3 times. So 3 times this experience. And we don't even know, is that like the most someone could do? I mean, we don't even know what everybody's experiencing, but this has been a road to have to walk down. So many different levels. So as we talk about the trauma that you guys have experienced through this, having to put your passions on the back burner, also having to keep the very people you love more than anything in the world away. And also, Noah, in your house, having all these beautiful children, you can't keep them at bay. You have to take care of them. Some of them are special needs. Just all of that. As your family members talked to you over the phone, video chatted with you, just various ways that you kept in contact, I also would like for you to talk a second about what you saw from other folks, just the vicarious trauma that they were experiencing, not only from watching television and knowing some folks, but now they had you in their life, Noah and Chris, people that they love very much, going through all of this, and what that was like, not being able to even know yourself what was down the road, how to console someone about what's currently going on with you, what that was like. So that residual that we see so much. And Chris, I know you work at the hospital and you see so much of the vicarious trauma with the nurses and the doctors and loved ones coming in and out for various things. So just your personal experiences as you worked with or loved with your loved ones, however you did that, what you experienced with their vicarious trauma, with what you were going through. So Chris, let's start with you. What was that like for you?
Well, initially, when I was home working from home this past summer, one of my responsibilities was to get in contact with the family members. Obviously, our visiting hours had changed, and so families were not allowed to come in on the COVID units. And one of the biggest things was to make sure that they were informed on what was going on with their family members. And so it was tough. It was, as you say, it was a whole different level. It's one thing to know that your loved one is sick and you can come and visit, but it's a whole different ball game to know that you can't come. You've got to talk with them over a screen, as well as the doctors, and just losing that sense of touch. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, excuse me, during my time at home during the summer. One of the things that kept coming out of the conversations with family is not just the different type of communication style that was needed, but missing that sense of touch. I mean, we have 5 senses. God gives us 5. And the sense of touch pretty much encompasses our whole body, whereas the other senses, they just affect pretty much one area, like the eyes or the ears or the mouth. But touch, it encompasses your whole body. And so we were missing that touch that interaction. So that pained me, and to see the staff, oh my gosh, the shout out to the staff that I work with, and I know others all over the world. These men and women are phenomenal. They not only use their skill professionally, but then they had to take on another level of being the person who provides more of the interaction between them and the patient. And then just the whole dynamics. And I mentioned earlier, excuse me, of the mentality of the ICU nurses and doctors. And, you know, ICU, I love them. You know, it's like, we can do this, right? And just to begin to see so many people lose their lives that they've done everything that they could for. So that was another piece that was causing me. And I'm typically pretty good at trying to console others. That's what I do. To console and to encourage and to build them up. I got to a point where I was at a loss as to how to do that. And that caused me even more trauma. This is before I was tested positive, and just racking my brain, and along with my manager, just racking our brain saying, what can we do for the staff? What can we do for our families? What can we do to try to build the morale and build the encouragement and to take care of them? And the community was phenomenal. They would bring us lunch and they would, you know, give us goodies and all sorts of stuff, because many times they didn't leave their patients to go get something to eat. And so it was different. It was very, very different. And I actually didn't go back to the campus full time until the very first part of December. And by that time we were gearing up for Christmas, and of course Christmas was going to be different, and this whole year, past year, was different, and it was tough. It was tough, and it's still tough, because there, you know, it's a whole different level that we're on now in terms of the patients and the needs. So it's, I don't know if I really answered your question, Lisa, but it has been a difficult time trying to keep people encouraged and motivated when they're dog tired, emotionally, physically. And not to mention the worldwide shortage of nurses, not just a facility or a hospital, but literally around the world, shortage of nurses. So that didn't help. So it's been a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, just the thoughts that you guys were trying to come together. Like, this was a whole, because y'all been in different situations at the hospital, different sicknesses where you had to, you know, figure out how to keep morale going, or some event happened that was traumatic that, you know, people had to stay over and work or whatever. But the thoughts that, you know, what do we do? You were at a loss. So that's that vicarious trauma of sitting back and watching those who are on the front line, or those who are experiencing COVID firsthand with their own health, just over and over again. You were at a loss, and that y'all had to sit down and try to figure out ways to, you know, keep morale up and hope up, and to show appreciation like never before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you did answer it. Noah, what about you?
So we don't have like we have a, although like our household is very large in number, but like as far as, you know, family, really, we have our little self-made family and support system. But as far as family, you know, we really only have my dad and his husband, and we had been really careful even visiting with them, because we had quite a scare, because, you know, whenever he would come over, we were always outside. They masked up, and then the only time, but we also had kind of like gotten into that safe place, like where we were kind of like starting to get lax on things. So my dad is at extreme high risk, you know, heart conditions, a multitude of other medical stuff that he has. And so he had been there like a week before we tested positive, like, so right in that probably contagious area. So having, so I know it was really hard on him because not only was he worried, him and his husband got tested and they were waiting on their test to come back, but also, you know, I'm a dad. I get it. He's my dad, and me and my dad are really close. I mean, besides from my wife, my dad is he is my best friend. And so I want to, you know, if my kids or my wife or my family is hurting or going through something, like, the first thing I want to do is I want to fix it. I want to make it stop, or I want to be there to support them or whatever I can do. And this was one time that he could not do that at all. I mean, my stepdad and him, they cooked meals, dropped it off on the porch, did grocery shopping. But when it came down to it, short of what the kids waving at the window when they drove off, I mean, they had to, I mean, that was, and I don't think I realized how hard that was on him and, you know, my stepdad until after we got on the other side of it.
Exactly. I think that I think that's beautiful that you have that relationship with your father, and I know that had to be hard. And you know, knowing that, you know, as a dad, that there was this time in his life that he could not do a thing to change things, and that you couldn't either as a dad, and that if you did, it could possibly make things worse. Other people could get sick. You know, you had to keep things as they were, like you said, waving at the window kind of thing that we've seen over and over on TV, which breaks my heart every time I see that. Is loved ones not being, you know, just standing at windows with their hands on the windows because they can't be together. Just kind of really, you just kind of brought that to life too for us, just talking about with your dad, and that you know, he couldn't fix this, and as parents we always think we can fix everything, and for this we just had to follow what they said was the safe thing to do and stay away from each other. And that's not what families tend to do. We come together.
Yeah.
Friends and families come together at times like this. We don't normally go apart. So this really messed with people. I think that was the hardest thing for people to embrace, that they couldn't come in and rescue and be that loving, nurturing, stay-at-home nurse for their mom or their dad while they were going through something, that they literally had to stay at home and pray for them and try to put stuff. Chris, you even talked about people putting stuff on your porch, you know, that people couldn't come in and clean for you. They couldn't bring you clean, nothing. They just had to sit on the porch and leave. So that vicarious trauma is extremely difficult for folks, I believe, with COVID, because we had to care and love for people who were physically going through sickness in such a different way that we're not used to doing. And I think that's been hard for those of us who haven't had COVID in our homes, just sitting back going, what can I do other than stay away and be safe? What can I do? It's just totally different. So, but we all are experiencing that. So we need to realize that this is a real thing for all of us. Chris, were you going to say something?
No, I was listening.
All right. So Aaron, if you want to bring us into our next part of this, but you guys are amazing and really are shedding some light for me personally of some things that I've wondered about. And I really haven't gotten to talk to somebody firsthand. I've heard it on the television, but not face to face. And I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've got about 10, 12 minutes. And so I want to just talk. You both brought up the post-COVID, right? Dealing with the effects and the recovery. A wise person told me a couple of weeks ago, it's not the dark that we're afraid of, it's what's inside of the darkness that we're afraid of. What does it look like inside of the recovery side? So you had your diagnosis, you had your symptoms, you quarantine, you isolated, you begin to build up, but you got a negative test, but there's some stuff going on. Noah, I want to start with you. What does that look like? Those post-COVID symptoms and life post negative test after positive.
So first of all, I mean, I always try to keep like my frame of reference always is that we are lucky that all my kids are good. I still got my wife. My dad didn't catch it. Like all of our family is intact. Like we have not lost anyone. But I will also say that the diagnosis and the going through the COVID and the quarantine, that was definitely the easy part. So all the kids were fine. All of them seemed to have made a complete and total recovery and are back to doing kid things and terrorizing each other and loving each other at the exact same time. Me, it's taken me a while to get my lungs back to where they were. I don't recover as fast. I don't sleep as good, but overall I'm good. But my wife has had, and I was hoping she would be able to join us, but so just like 30-second backstory on her is me and her both kind of went through like a weight loss journey a couple of years ago and went from not being physically active at all to running together, exercising together. The woman ran her first Spartan race in February and killed it. Then got into nursing school, didn't get into nursing school because they had to lower the number because of COVID. Then found a job that she loved that got cut because of COVID. So kept getting hit time and time again, and then catches COVID and is now to the point where her COVID did such a number on her heart and her central nervous system that she has several different heart conditions now. I'm going to butcher the name, but I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not going to try to say it. Basically, like now she's at the point where her nervous system doesn't function right. It doesn't talk to her body right. She has an autoimmune disorder. She has 2 cardiologists now. We're probably looking at a pacemaker in the next not too long. Literally the nerves in her leg, like we were trying different creams and pillows and natural and meds and this, that, and the other, and anything we can do. But I mean, went from finally having this like active lifestyle and, really like kind of thriving to she can't chase the kids around anymore. There are times that she has to, she's doing stuff with the kids and she has to sit down a lot. And so coping with this whole new way of life with her, coping with trying to comfort her. And, I don't even know if it's so much the physical stuff for her as much as it is just the emotional of not being able to do like she used to do. And really, I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but basically, so that's been a big thing, and trying to, her health seems to be going downhill rather than going uphill. And it's like every time she turns around, they think they've got it figured out. They don't have it figured out. And then they find this and they find that. And so, like I said, the diagnosis and all that was the easy part. But trying to get back to a normal post-COVID has been really, really difficult. And it, especially for her and everything she's been through.
No, thank you for even having the courage and hanging in there to share that. I know that wasn't easy. And Chris, I'm watching your response.
Yeah.
You're not only going through those things yourself, you've seen them firsthand. So give us a couple of minutes, Chris, and what has post-COVID looked like for you?
I had to give it initials. As Noah said, there are some things that I have now that I didn't have before, and I had to write them down because one of them is brain fog. So you forget stuff really easily, and some days you're like, and then other days it's like. But anyway, I got BBFFHH. These are the things that I deal with. And you never know what you're going to get. It literally is like a box of chocolates. You don't know when you wake up. The breathing issue with the lungs. I've got to see a lung specialist to try to get my lungs back. My balance is off. Sometimes I can, I'm walking and I feel like I really do need a V8. I kind of veered to one way or the other. The brain fog, that's probably been one of the hardest. Just not being able to connect the thoughts like I used to. So I've started doing a lot of puzzles and brain stimulating kind of stuff, a lot of more reading. The fatigue, the fatigue is brutal as well. I can wake up and I can feel fine. And I'm like, today I'm going to paint the house, put on a new roof, clean all the cars. And then about a couple of hours into it, it's like, I think I'm going to need to lay down for a while. So the fatigue it comes just like that. And so that's my other F. The headaches. Oh, I've never had a migraine, but this supersedes the migraine. Mm-hmm. They are almost debilitating where I've had one that made me throw up. It was so bad. And the other one is the heart flutter. So I understand, thank God that I didn't have I don't know, I don't think I did, but the heart flutters, I have to go to a cardiologist as well. So it's the post has been tough because, like Noah was saying, you go from being very active and being able to do some things that you can't do now. I'm trusting God that I will be eventually, and everybody's telling me it's going to take time. And it's funny what you said earlier, Lisa. You said you look great, and that's what everybody tells me. You look great, and that has been an intentional move on my part every day to get up and to make up and to dress and to try to at least feel better on the outside, regardless of what I feel on the inside, which is what my dad always said. You don't have to look like you feel. So thank you for that compliment. And sometimes it truly is just the outer shell look. But I'm hopeful. I'm confident. I just found out today that, I've been approved for some extended time off to try to work through these issues and get my lungs back, get my stamina back, and try to I'm not even going to say adjust to these things, because I'm not going to adjust. I'm going to overcome. And I don't know what that overcome is going to look like, but it's not going to look like this.
Listen, both of you, thank you so much. We're going to start putting the plane in the hangar. As I listen to you both, I just think of all of the collateral stuff that's happening, right? How now post-COVID affects finances because it changes things. Medical expenses go up, premiums have to be met, deductibles and so forth. And so just thinking through that and adding that, this is just the most real thing that we've seen in my lifetime. I'm 61. Noah, for you, what would be last words for tonight for the people who are listening concerning COVID through your experience, pre, during, and post? What would be your words to those who are listening?
I think that I know that everybody's tired of this new normal or whatever we're calling it. I know I'm tired. But just, hopefully we can all hang in there just a little bit longer, and get back to things safely, and just, like Chris was saying, overcoming, not sure what it's going to look like, but just, kind of keep grinding it out. And hopefully we're close to the finish line. I guess that would be my final thoughts.
Thank you so much. Chris, same thing. What would be your final thoughts with everything that you've going through? People are listening. What would be your final words and thoughts for tonight?
My final thought would be to use the precautions, stay safe. Don't get lulled into thinking that it's not real or it's not that big of a deal. And because it affects everybody differently, that's the other thing. That's one of the biggest things. Because it affects everyone differently, you don't know how it's going to affect you. You know, my son tested positive and he had absolutely no symptoms, none, zero. And, you know, me, you know, I'm still dealing with it. So my best advice is to stay safe so that you don't. If you are inclined to vaccinate. That's a personal decision. I firmly believe that. But do whatever you can to stay safe and to keep others safe. If you don't care about your life, then don't jeopardize somebody else's.
Thank you both so very much. Lisa K, give us a last word as we put the plane in the hangar, my friend.
Well, I appreciate all of you just giving all your heart and soul and letting us see you through your eyes tonight, through your life, through your family's lives, through your work life even, and what you've experienced. And I know that we'll carry away a piece of this, you know, knowing that there's hope. And, you know, it's good to hear that it is good to hear what folks are going through. We need to know what this thing is like. None of us have ever walked down this before. And I just appreciate you doing that. I also appreciate you sharing, you know, what your family members have gone through, you know, just the vicarious trauma that they have experienced because they love you so much and can't love you the way they would have loved you through any other illness or circumstances or loss or whatever. And, you know, what that was like for them. It doesn't mean that it's going to make, if we all, those of us who are watching or experiencing this tonight, haven't gone through it, when we go through it, doesn't mean that it's going to make it better for us. But I think we are encouraged. I think that we get a sense of understanding that this is real. COVID is real. And that's been my new statement to folks who want to hug me is COVID's real. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, I don't, you know, I know, and all that kind of stuff. It just speaks to the truth. I mean, I would hug you if COVID was not here. I am the hugger. I mean, I'm one of those, I've got you like embraced, slobbering on you, right? But now it's like COVID's real, you know, so, because my dad is fixing to turn 80 years old and he is my very first love. And I ain't ready to give him up. As mean as he is, I still ain't ready to give him up. And I sure don't want to lose him to COVID. And he's doing what he needs to do to stay safe. So it prepares us or like helps us put on some armor, some more emotional armor as we hear what you have brought to us tonight. The information is out there. We're seeing it, but hearing it from you guys penetrates to the heart. It's more on a personal level because we know you and you're sharing, you know, inside your soul to us and what you've experienced. And we just appreciate that so much. I know that it's going to make me put on some more emotional armor to actually think about and maybe even having a plan around if all of a sudden COVID is in my face, in my home, or at my parents' home, right? So, just keeps us in mind and hopeful. I saw a lot of hope here tonight. Mm-hmm. You guys shared a lot of hope, and I do appreciate that. And we just love you both so much, and so glad that you are doing better. And we look forward to hearing the rest of the story as time progresses, and seeing you guys being back to full force, doing that thing like you want to do, and you know, just keep us informed. And I know Aaron will keep us in touch with you, Chris, and Noah, you work with PRN, so we're definitely going to keep tabs on you to make sure that that you're okay. And now that Aaron and I know you a little bit better now, since you're brand new to our staff and our family at PRN, you better believe we'll probably aggravate you a little bit more. So sorry. But that's just the cost of loving PRN family, right?
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much. And guys, those of you who are watching, please share this. You know, people need to hear. People need to figure out what extra armor they need to put on other than, you know, masking up and gloving up and distance. There's other things we can do to prepare ourselves emotionally. And that's what tonight was about. And we appreciate that. You guys telling us about that.
Lisa, can you give us your Wednesday night warm line plug, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So you'll see on the screen, PRN has a 24/7 warm line. These are some phenomenal people who have lived experience. They are answering the phones to offer warm ears, a kind heart, a kind word, hope from their own lived experience, not just because they read it in a book and they've got some schooling. It's called the School of Hard Knocks, the school of been there, done that. And these are folks that are in recovery. These are folks that are far enough in their recovery that now they reach back and inspire hope in others. So if you have any distress, whether it's over COVID or anything else, please call the number that you see on our screen, 833-390-7728. And 24/7, there is an amazing person that's going to answer that phone, I promise you. So anytime, day or night, we got some warm ears and a lot of heart. So give us a call if you need us.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. And if the stars line up in the universe for you, you'll get Noah on the other end of the line. Hey, listen, we love you. Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate your willingness to be here, your courage, many prayers, believing you'll be feeling better real soon. Noah, the same with you. Tell your wife she has our love. We're thinking about her. Many prayers to you and your family. Thank you both for not just being here, but for what you do and for your courage. Everybody that's listening, I hope you heard something that will inspire you, motivate you, educate you. Let's be safe out there. Let's do the right thing for ourselves and for others. Through the eyes of others, this is it for tonight. We love you, and we will see you next week, 6 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.